You must have recently heard the term matrix very often. People like Andrew Tate and any other conspiracy theorist, right from the movie Matrix, from the Wachowski brothers, started talking about the word matrix. And then it's used to describe like anything and everything from a small possible corruption in the system to like a glitch in the matrix, like a glitch in the actual matrix. So, what is this supposed matrix? Like, if you ask me, there are two types of matrices, okay? The first matrix is nature's matrix or God's matrix or the divine matrix, whatever you want to call it. The divine matrix is can be explained by the idea that reality is not what it appears to be. Reality is illusive, meaning what you see, what you feel, what you smell, what you touch, what you hear, is not what it really is. It's it's something else, but you visualize or you feel it or you sense it and you experience it as something else. Um, the German philosopher, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant or E. Kant. Look him up. He was born around the mid 1700s, and he's very popular. He's one of the major Enlightenment figures in the modern day era, and majority of his work is surrounded around this elusive nature of reality. He starts with a very basic example that color is not what it appears to be. So I'll give you an example. A blue car that is going on the road appears to be blue to your eyes when a white spectrum of light from the sun or from an artificial source of light falls on the car and bounces off of its surface and then interacts with the pupils of your eye. That's when you see that the color of the sky is blue, the color of the car is blue, and what's the shape of the car, and um, what's the nature of the car, right? So if we are just talking about the color concept here, color itself is elusive. So if you see a blue car, what you're really saying, what your brain is really telling you, is that when a spectrum of white light fell on the car, every other color was absorbed in the process, but only the color blue was reflected off from the car. And only the color blue was received by the retina of your eyes and read by your brain and then interpreted accordingly. So in reality, the color of the car is not blue, right? Like the car, it's only up, it has reflected blue. In the meanwhile, it has absorbed every other color in the process. So actually, the color of the car is going to be a shade of a muddy gray or a muddy brown, because it's going to be a mixture of every other color in the white light spectrum, but it reflected a blue that your eye caught, right? Similarly, a red car, a blue car, a green car, a yellow car, every color, just not a car, but any color that you see around you works in a similar fashion. That a color of a post office box is red because it's reflecting a red color back to your retina of the eye while absorbing every other color in the process from the white light spectrum. So even the color of the post office box is going to be a muddy gray or a muddy black or a muddy brown. Now try to imagine a reality which does not really reflect colors but really shows the real color of the object that it's holding. So the muddy shades of gray, right? Or the 50 shades of, well, there could be a reason that movie, that show's called a 50 shades of gray, that novel is called 50 shades of gray, because there really are 50 shades of gray, or probably more, because reality technically is something like a negative of a photo film. I don't know if you're old enough to know what is a photo film, but uh, before, like when you click pictures on a film, you would also get a negative, which is a muddy grayish, blackish, whitish kind of a negative frame. And then when you put put this negative frame through a photo publishing machine, that's when a colored photo comes out on the other side. So reality actually is something like that negative of a photo frame, which is a mixture of a muddy gray or a muddy black or a muddy brown color mixed with all types of different shades. It's not colorful that it's like it appears to your eye. Well, if you want to read this into much detail, look into Immanuel Kant from Germany, look into his work, and then look into every other aspect of reality as well. So this was color, okay? I'll show you, like, so if you really uh, deduce this further, you will find that colors, like, so let's say what makes a car blue, what makes a car red is the paint of color, right? Like it's the can of liquid that is painted on the car that makes a color reflects in a certain way. So actually color is nothing but a frequency, right? Like color or whatever your eye is looking at is traveling in wavelengths, right? It's a wave that your eye catches. When you hear a sound, you're catching a wavelength of sound. When you see something, you're catching a wavelength of light. Like light travels in wavelengths. So the can of paint actually is a emulsion which produces a certain type of wavelength, right? It's an emulsion that's going to absorb every other wavelength in the process while emitting the wavelength that it actually has. You know what I'm saying? So the color of the car, the color of everything around you is very, very, very extremely elusive. Like reality is like a negative of a photo, a negative of a photo film. Similarly, matter is also extremely elusive, because I don't know if you've ever seen an atom under a microscope, but 99.5, 99.6, probably even 99.9% space inside an atom is empty. There is a nucleus in the middle, and there are electrons revolving around the nucleus. The nucleus holds the weight of the atom. The electrons are like practically weightless. Okay, they hold very, very, very minuscule amount of weight, but like most of the weight of the atom is held in the nucleus, which holds electrons and the neutrons and protons. Okay, so if you really look at an atom, which under a microscope, a single atom or a group of atoms, most of the atom is hollow, is empty. But when you zoom out of the microscope and look through your naked eye, a table, let's say, or a chair does not appear to be hollow. A stone does not appear to be hollow. But if you zoom in enough on the table, if you zoom in enough on the stone, if you zoom in enough on the glass, you will notice that 90% of the stone is hollow, like the atom of the stone. But you can't zoom in on the entire stone, right? You would have to zoom in on molecules of atoms or a piece of an atom. But then collection of atoms is also atoms, right? Like the property of an atom shouldn't change, but what you see under a microscope is not the same what you see with your naked eye, right? With your naked eye, you don't see 90%, 99% empty space. You see a solid rock, you see a solid table, a solid chair. But under a microscope, you see empty space. So here, there's no trick. Actually, there is a trick. There is a divine trick that's happening on the metaphysical level, on the quantum physical level, and this divine trick is actually been the basis of many Eastern philosophies, especially the Hindu philosophy. Like the word Hindu is pretty loaded nowadays, actually, because it comes with a lot of mythological beliefs and political agendas and whatnot. But um, if you go to the core of any Eastern philosophy, Chinese, Japanese, Indian, oh, I would even say Egyptian, you would find out that the core belief of the ideology was that the nature is elusive, reality is elusive, and the Indians, the Hindus, called it Maya. And even today, the word Maya is very popular in India and used very frequently to describe any kind of trickery, any kind of hypnotism or magic. So even like when a woman's putting a trying to put a spell on a man, that's also said like, oh, she's putting her Maya on a guy, or the guy is inversely putting a Maya on the women when he's trying to be a womanizer. So uh, yeah, that concept's very popular, and this is where it originates from. That it's not a made up concept. It's a ground reality. It's a undeniable fact, which is showed to us to some extent in school. Like they explain to us that the atom is hollow and what's the structure of an atom, but then they do not complete the story and tell you that the nature of the universe is elusive, right? Technically, if you again go back to the subject of the atom, you will find that everything around you, and I mean every single thing around you, be it poison, be it medicine, be it gas, be it solid, liquid, be it hot, cold, any property, be it radioactive or be it like a normal household ingredient, everything is made from only three things. That's electrons, protons, and neutrons. Okay? And then it depends on the combination of these three things that decides the property of that particular substance. So, um, you could assume that the universe that we are living in it's a numerically coded universe, right? So, what differentiates a hydrogen atom from an oxygen atom or from a helium atom? A hydrogen atom has one electron in its first orbit, and a helium atom has two electrons in its first orbit. Or an oxygen atom has two orbits and has two electrons in its first orbit and has four electrons in its second orbit, and then it's or six electrons in its second orbit, and then it's unstable for the rest of the two electrons, which then it pairs with a second hydrogen atom, or for a second oxygen atom, to form an O2, like an oxygen 2 molecule, right? So the component itself of the atom doesn't change. Like electron in an oxygen atom and an electron in a hydrogen atom is still an electron. It's the same thing. If needed in a chemical reaction, these electrons can be interchanged. So an oxygen atom can give two of its electrons to some other element to form another compound. Similarly, it can also take two electrons from a different element to form another compound. Are you getting what I'm saying? That every single element is made from the exact same three things, right? Electrons, protons, and neutrons, and they are not different. Like they are not different electrons for different oxygen atom, and different electrons for a hydrogen atom, different electrons for a helium atom or a radioactive radium or titanium or platinum, all electrons are same. They are just, it's the same thing, right? So how do how do elements know which property to obtain? They know this based on the program that is pre-fed in the nucleus of the electron. So every single electron has this nature's code pre-fed in it. So it just changes its properties depending upon how many electron it has in its outer orbit. If in reality electron has been the most, or rather sorry, atom has been the most mysterious thing in the universe since the beginning of time. Most ancient gods, Sumerian gods, Egyptian gods, even in Indian gods, in the Vedic times, in the pre-Dark Age era, you would find that the highest of the gods in the polytheistic god pantheons would always be a god called Anu or Atum or Atom. And Anu means atom. Atom means also atom. Atum means also atom. And Anu actually means atom in Vedic, Sanskrit, and some of the other languages that were popular during that time. By that time, I mean the pre-Bronze Age era. Uh, Now, why I focus on the Bronze Age is because the Bronze Age collapse around 1000 BC is one of the very major civilization collapses in history, and we will discuss it why the Bronze Age collapse happened around 1000 BC, exactly why around 1000 BC, and what was the reason. It's part of the divine plan too, but we'll look into this later. But coming back to the issue, like atom or atom is anu is all alluding to the same thing, one and the same thing, which is atom, which is the singular atom at the bottom of the matter, at the smallest particle of the matter is atom, and that's what they're revering as God. That's where the phrase atom is the seat of God, if you've heard it, revolves in many Gnostic circles, and that's where it originates from. It originates from the actual atom in the metaphysical universe. Atum, anu, it's all the same thing. Why? Because atom is where the magic is happening. At the root of the atom is empty space, but when you zoom out of it, it's hard matter, is liquid matter, is gaseous matter, is so many things but solid, right? So many things but a dense matter. So atom is a very mysterious concept. It's a very mysterious thing in itself, but we are never taught about it in school. I mean, we are taught about it, but we are not taught about the mysterious nature of the atom, the hollow nature of the atom, the trinary nature of the atom, that it's made from only three things, be it any atom, right? Do you remember learning about this? No, right? They conveniently ignored it, conveniently omitted it, and they only told you what you need to be told to be run the machines or whatever, follow their curriculum, fall into their idea of the religion of education. That's why I call it the religion of education, because it's not that they're lying, but they're presenting the world in a different format, in a different perspective, where you're not taught certain things. So in this little bit of a video, we saw how color is an illusion, and how matter itself, like the substantial reality of the matter itself, is an illusion, right? So in the next episode, we'll see how smell, taste, touch, everything else is an illusion as well. Everything else is a frequency, and All frequency is nothing but a digital product, for the lack of less words. Like, what is a frequency? Is a It's a repetition of a wavelength. And what is a wavelength? It's moving up and down of a frequency again, right? So um, frequency, wavelength, and vibrations is what this game is all about. Whatever we know from education, from mainstream media, from books, from movies, is not reality. It's a twisted version of reality. And even in the greater scheme of events, we'll see further how education, how movies and everything else twists your most basic sense of reality as well, and how it's affecting you personally and how it's affecting us as a community. We'll see it as the time goes. So thank you for listening to this short bit of a video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.